Amy Carter pushed her glasses up her nose and stared at the computer screen. The numbers made no sense. She had been working on this quantum physics problem for 6 months, and nothing was going right. Her small lab at the University of California felt like a prison cell. The walls were old and painted a dull gray color. The only light came from the buzzing fluorescent bulbs above her head. It was almost midnight, and Amy was alone in the building. She could hear the security guard walking down the hallway outside. His footsteps echoed in the empty corridors. Amy took a sip of her cold coffee and made a face. It tasted terrible, but she needed the caffeine to stay awake. Her research was about quantum entanglement communication. The idea was simple, but the science was hard. If two particles were connected in a special way, changing one particle would instantly change the other particle, no matter how far apart they were. Amy believed this could be used to send messages across huge distances in space without any delay. But the university did not believe in her work. Professor Williams, the head of the physics department, had told her many times that her ideas were impossible. He said she was wasting time and money. The university board of directors was getting angry about the money spent on her research. They wanted results, not theories. Amy looked at the pile of rejection letters on her desk. Every major science journal had said no to her papers. They all said the same thing. Her ideas went against the laws of physics. They called her work fantasy, not science. Some of the letters were mean and made fun of her theories. She picked up one letter and read it again. It was from the Journal of Quantum Physics. The editor had written that her work was childish and showed she did not understand basic science. Amy crumpled the letter and threw it in the trash can. She had thrown away many letters like this one. The lab equipment around her looked old and broken. The university had given her the worst machines and the smallest budget. Other professors got new computers and fancy instruments. Amy had to fix her own equipment when it broke down. She had learned to be a mechanic, an electrician, and a computer programmer, just to keep working. Amy's phone buzzed on the desk. It was a text message from her landlord. The rent was due tomorrow and she did not have enough money. She had been working as a tutor to make extra money, but it was not enough. Her salary as a research assistant was very small. She often ate cheap noodles for dinner and skipped lunch to save money. She thought about her college roommate, Jake Morrison. They had studied together and shared big dreams about changing the world. Jake had been smart with computers and business ideas. After graduation, he had started a company that created artificial intelligence software. Last year, Amy had seen his picture on the cover of a business magazine. The headline said he was now worth $3 billion after selling his company. Amy and Jake had not talked in 3 years. She felt embarrassed about her situation. While Jake was getting rich and famous, she was stuck in a tiny lab with broken equipment and no money. She had sent him a message once asking for help with funding, but he never replied. Maybe he was too busy with his new life to remember old friends. She turned back to her computer and started the experiment again. The machine hummed and beeped as it tried to create quantum-entangled particles. Amy had done this test hundreds of times before. Each time, the particles would disappear or lose their connection after a few seconds. Tonight felt different, though. Something was making her stay longer and try harder. The computer screen showed two particles spinning in opposite directions. This was normal for quantum entanglement. But then something strange happened. The particles started glowing brighter on the screen. The computer started making sounds Amy had never heard before. The numbers on the screen were changing very fast. Amy leaned forward and watched carefully. The particles were still connected, but now they were creating some kind of tunnel between them. The tunnel looked like a glowing tube of light on the computer screen. Amy had never seen anything like this before. She checked all the equipment to make sure nothing was broken. The tunnel stayed stable for 5 minutes, then 10 minutes, then an hour. Amy could not believe what she was seeing. She was watching the first stable quantum tunnel ever created. This was not just communication between particles. This was a doorway through space itself. Amy tried to stay calm, but her heart was beating very fast. She took pictures of the screen and saved all the data. She ran the test again to make sure. It was real. The same thing happened. The particles created a stable tunnel that lasted for hours. As the sun came up outside her window, Amy realized she had discovered something that would change everything. This was not just faster communication. This was a way to move things instantly, across any distance. Spaceships could travel to other stars in seconds instead of years. Messages could be sent to the other side of the galaxy immediately. But Amy also knew that nobody would believe her. She had been wrong so many times before. The other scientists would laugh at her. The university would probably fire her. She needed to test this discovery many more times before telling anyone about it. Amy saved all her work on multiple computers and backup drives. She locked the lab door and walked home as the morning sun lit up the empty campus. Jake Morrison straightened his expensive suit jacket as he walked into the Golden Gate restaurant. The place was fancy with white tablecloths and crystal glasses. Rich people and business leaders came here to make deals and show off their money. Jake had arranged to meet 3 investors who wanted to put money into his new technology company. The restaurant was busy and full of noise. Waiters moved quickly between tables carrying expensive food and wine. Jake looked around for his business partners, but they had not arrived yet. He decided to wait at the bar and order a drink. As Jake walked toward the bar, he stopped suddenly. A woman with brown hair was serving drinks to a table of customers. She looked tired and worn out. Her uniform was wrinkled and she had dark circles under her eyes, but Jake recognized her face immediately. It was Amy Carter, his college roommate and best friend. Jake could not believe what he was seeing. Amy was supposed to be a famous scientist by now. She had always been the smartest person he knew. In college, she could solve math problems that made his head hurt. She understood physics and chemistry better than their professors. Jake had always thought Amy would win a Nobel Prize someday, but here she was, carrying plates of food and refilling water glasses. She moved slowly like her feet hurt. Her hands shook a little when she poured wine for the customers. Jake watched her for several minutes, trying to understand what had happened to his brilliant friend. Amy walked past him carrying a heavy tray of dishes. She did not see Jake because she was focused on not dropping the food. One of the customers at her table was being rude to her. He complained loudly that his steak was too cold and demanded a new one. Amy apologized politely and took the plate back to the kitchen. Jake felt angry watching the man treat Amy badly. He wanted to walk over and tell the customer to show respect, but he also felt confused and sad. How had Amy ended up working as a waitress? What had happened to her dreams of becoming a great scientist? Jake's phone buzzed with a text message. His business partners were running late and wanted to meet in an hour instead. Jake was relieved because it gave him time to talk to Amy. He sat down at one of her tables and waited for her to notice him. Amy came back from the kitchen with a new plate of food. She walked to Jake's table to give him a menu. When she looked down and saw his face, she dropped the menu on the floor. Her mouth opened in shock and her face turned red with embarrassment. "Jake?" Amy said quietly. "What are you doing here?" "I could ask you the same question," Jake replied. He stood up and tried to give her a hug, but Amy stepped back. She looked around nervously to see if her boss was watching. "I'm working," Amy said. "I can't talk right now. Please order something or leave." Jake could see that Amy was embarrassed and upset. He did not want to make trouble for her at work. He ordered a sandwich and coffee, then waited patiently while Amy served her other customers. He watched her work and noticed how hard she tried to make everyone happy. Even when customers were rude, Amy stayed polite and professional. When Amy's shift ended at 10 o'clock, Jake was still waiting. Amy had changed out of her uniform into jeans and an old sweater. She looked even more tired now. Jake walked up to her as she left the restaurant. "Amy, please talk to me," Jake said. "I want to understand what happened." Amy looked at him for a long moment. Jake could see pain and sadness in her eyes. Finally, she nodded and agreed to get coffee with him at a nearby diner. They sat in a quiet corner booth at the all-night diner. Amy ordered black coffee and stared at the table. Jake waited for her to speak first. "I know what you're thinking," Amy said finally. "You're wondering how the smart girl from college ended up serving food to rich people." "I'm not judging you," Jake said. "I just want to know what happened. You were going to change the world with your research. Amy laughed, but it was not a happy sound. The world doesn't want to be changed by me. The university cut my funding 6 months ago. They said my work was impossible and stupid. I couldn't pay rent anymore, so I got this job. But your quantum research, Jake said. You were always so passionate about it. Amy's eyes filled with tears. Nobody believes in it. I've been rejected by every journal and every conference. Other scientists think I'm crazy. Maybe they're right. Jake leaned forward. Tell me about your work. What exactly were you trying to do? Amy was quiet for a moment. Then she started talking about quantum entanglement and particle communication. She explained her theories about sending messages instantly across space. As she talked, her eyes lit up with excitement like they used to in college. I actually made a breakthrough, Amy said quietly. Last week I created something amazing, but it doesn't matter because nobody will listen to me. Jake felt excited. He had always trusted Amy's intelligence. If she said she discovered something important, he believed her. Show me, Jake said. I want to see your work. Amy shook her head. You wouldn't understand, it's too complicated. Try me, Jake said. I may not be a scientist, but I know good ideas when I hear them. That's how I made my money. Amy looked at Jake carefully. She could see that he was serious and really wanted to help. Slowly, she started explaining her quantum tunnel discovery. She drew diagrams on napkins and used salt shakers to show how particles could be connected across space. Jake listened to every word. His business mind started working. He could see the huge possibilities of Amy's discovery. This was bigger than anything he had ever worked on. Amy, Jake said when she finished explaining. This is incredible. You've solved one of the biggest problems in physics. Amy shook her head sadly. It doesn't matter if nobody believes me. Jake smiled for the first time that night. Then we'll make them believe. 3 months had passed since Jake found Amy working at the restaurant. Everything had changed quickly after that night. Jake kept his promise and gave Amy money to build a real laboratory. He bought her the best equipment and hired smart people to help with her research. Amy's quantum tunnel was working better than ever. She could now send messages from California to Japan in 0 time. The messages arrived instantly, faster than light could travel. Jake knew this discovery would change the world. He started a new company called Quantum Dynamics and made Amy the head scientist. The first public test was planned for today. News reporters and government officials were coming to watch. Amy felt nervous but excited. She had worked so hard for this moment. Finally, people would see that her ideas were real and important. Amy stood in the new laboratory and checked all the equipment one more time. The quantum tunnel machine was much bigger now. It filled half the room with computers, wires, and glowing screens. Jake stood beside her wearing his best suit for the cameras. Are you ready? Jake asked Amy. Amy nodded and pressed the start button. The machine hummed to life. On the main screen, they could see the quantum tunnel forming between 2 points. One end was in their lab in California. The other end was in a lab in Tokyo, Japan. Amy typed a simple message on her computer. Hello from California. She pressed send. The message traveled through the quantum tunnel and appeared on a screen in Tokyo instantly. The people in Tokyo sent a message back. Hello from Japan. We received your message. Everyone in the room started clapping and cheering. The reporters took pictures and asked questions. Government scientists shook hands with Amy and Jake. For the first time in years, Amy felt proud of her work. But far away in space, something else was watching. High above Earth, 3 giant spaceships hung in the darkness between stars. The ships were invisible to human eyes and radar. They had been watching Earth for many years, waiting for something special to happen. Inside the largest ship, Admiral Kex Vorthak studied the data on his screen. Kex was not human. He looked like a large lizard that walked on 2 legs. His skin was dark green and covered with scales. His yellow eyes were cold and intelligent. The humans have done it, Kex said to his officers. They have created quantum communication. The other aliens in the room looked excited. Some looked like humans but had blue skin and white hair. Others were tall and thin with 4 arms. One alien looked like a walking tree with glowing leaves. "Should we make contact?" asked Dr. Lyra Starweaver. She was the most human-looking alien, with silver skin that sparkled like diamonds. She was the best at talking to new species and understanding their cultures. "Yes," Admiral Kex replied. "They have passed the first test. It is time to reveal ourselves." Back on Earth, Amy and Jake were celebrating with their team. The quantum communication test had been perfect. Phone calls were coming in from scientists around the world. Everyone wanted to know more about the discovery. Suddenly, all the computers in the lab started beeping at the same time. The screens flickered and went black. Then new words appeared on every screen in bright white letters. "Greetings, people of Earth. We come in peace. We wish to speak with the creators of quantum communication technology." Amy stared at the message. Her heart started beating very fast. Jake grabbed her arm and pointed out the window. In the sky above the city, 3 huge shapes were becoming visible. They were massive spaceships, each one as big as a city block. People in the streets were screaming and pointing at the sky. Car alarms were going off everywhere. The news channels were showing the same thing happening in cities around the world. Alien spaceships were appearing above every major city on Earth. Within an hour, the military surrounded Amy's laboratory. Soldiers with guns stood guard at every door. Government officials in black suits arrived and asked Amy and Jake to come with them. They were taken to a secret military base in the desert. The base was underground and very large. Amy and Jake were brought to a big meeting room with no windows. Important people from the government were sitting around a long table. Amy recognized the President of the United States and the Secretary of Defense. "Dr. Carter," the President said. "The aliens specifically asked to meet with you and Mr. Morrison. They know your names and know about your quantum research." Amy felt scared but also curious. "What do they want?" Before anyone could answer, the lights in the room dimmed. A bright beam of light appeared in the center of the room. The light formed into the shape of a beautiful woman with silver skin and long white hair. Her eyes were bright blue like stars. "Greetings," the alien woman said. Her voice was soft and musical. "I am Ambassador Lyra Starweaver of the Zephyrian Empire. Please do not be afraid. We come as friends." Jake found his voice first. "You're really an alien?" Lyra smiled. "Yes, though we prefer the term galactic citizen. We have been watching your EO species for many generations, waiting for you to develop quantum communication. This technology shows that humanity is ready to learn about the larger universe." "How many of you are there?" Amy asked. "The Zephyrian Empire includes hundreds of different species from thousands of worlds," Lyra explained. "We have been exploring space for millions of years. We help young species like humanity join the galactic community." The President leaned forward. "What do you want from us?" Lyra's expression became serious. "We need your help. The galaxy is in danger from an ancient enemy. For thousands of years, we have been fighting against something called the Void Collective. It is an artificial intelligence that destroys entire worlds." "Why do you need us?" Jake asked. "You have advanced technology and many worlds to help you." "Because," Lyra said, "you have something we lost long ago. You have chaos, creativity, and unpredictability. The Void Collective can predict and counter every logical strategy. But human thinking is different. You solve problems in ways that make no sense to us, and that is exactly what we need." Amy felt overwhelmed by everything she was hearing. "You want us to fight in a space war?" "Not fight with weapons," Lyra replied. "Fight with ideas. Your quantum communication technology could connect our entire empire instantly, but more importantly, your human way of thinking could give us strategies the Void Collective cannot understand." The room was quiet as everyone tried to understand what this meant. Amy looked at Jake, and Jake looked back at her. They were being asked to help save the galaxy. "Will you come with us?" Lyra asked. "Will you help us build a quantum communication network that spans the stars?" Amy thought about her small laboratory and her years of failed experiments. Now aliens from space were asking for her help to save the galaxy. It was like something from a science fiction movie, but it was really happening. "Yes," Amy said quietly. "We'll help you." Amy floated through the corridors of the alien spaceship, still getting used to the strange feeling of weightlessness. The ship was called Stellar Harmony, and it was bigger than any building she had ever seen on Earth. The walls glowed with soft blue light, and the air smelled like flowers from an alien world. It had been 2 weeks since Amy and Jake left Earth with Ambassador Lyra. They were traveling to the center of the Zephyrian Empire to help build the galaxy-wide quantum communication network. Amy spent most of her time in the ship's laboratory, working with alien scientists who had been studying quantum physics for thousands of years. Dr. Zephyr Mindshaper was Amy's main partner in the research. He looked like a tall human with pale skin, but his head was much larger to hold his huge brain. Zephyr could read thoughts and emotions, which made Amy uncomfortable at first, but he was kind and patient, always interested in how human minds worked. "Your brain patterns are fascinating," Zephyr told Amy as they worked on the quantum equations. "When you think about a problem, your mind jumps between ideas in ways that seem random, but somehow you always find the right answer." Amy smiled as she adjusted the quantum field generator. "My professors always said I think too much outside the box. They wanted me to follow the rules of physics." "Rules are for minds that cannot imagine new possibilities," Zephyr replied. "Your species creates chaos from order, and order from chaos. This is a very rare gift in the galaxy." Meanwhile, Jake was working with the ship's diplomatic team to organize communication between different alien species. Captain Lisa Rodriguez, a former Earth military officer who had volunteered to join the mission, was helping him understand how to work with alien cultures. Lisa had been a fighter pilot in the Earth Space Force before it even existed. When the aliens revealed themselves, she was one of the first humans to volunteer for space duty. She was tough, smart, and not afraid of anything. "The problem is that most alien species think too logically," Lisa explained to Jake as they studied star maps. "They plan everything perfectly and follow the same strategies they've used for centuries. That's why they keep losing to the Void Collective." Jake nodded as he looked at the battle reports. "So they need us to think differently?" "Exactly. Humans are unpredictable. We take risks, make crazy plans, and somehow make them work. That's what scares the enemy." Back in the laboratory, Amy was making an important discovery. The quantum communication network was working, but it needed a special type of energy to connect across the entire galaxy. This energy could only be created by the chaotic patterns in thinking brains. "The network requires neural chaos," Amy explained to Zephyr. "But alien brains are too organized. They think in straight lines and logical patterns. The quantum field needs wild, random thoughts to stay stable." Zephyr studied the data on his screen. "Are you saying that only human brains can power this network?" "Not exactly," Amy replied. "But human brains create the right kind of chaos. Our emotions, our dreams, our crazy ideas generate the quantum fluctuations the network needs to work." This was a big problem. There were only a few hundred humans in space, but the network needed thousands of minds to connect the entire galaxy. Amy felt frustrated until she remembered something from her college psychology classes. "What if we don't need humans in space?" Amy asked. "What if we can connect to human brains on Earth through the quantum tunnel?" Zephyr's large eyes widened with excitement. "You mean use your entire planet as a quantum processor?" "Why not? We have 7 billion human brains on Earth. If we connect them all to the network for just a few minutes, we could generate enough chaos energy to power the system for months." While Amy worked on this new idea, alarms started ringing throughout the ship. Captain Lisa ran to the bridge where Admiral Kex was studying sensor readings. The reptilian commander looked worried. "We have detected a Void Collective scout ship," Admiral Kex announced. "It has found our location and is approaching fast." Lisa looked at the tactical display. The enemy ship was black and angular, like a piece of broken metal floating in space. It was much smaller than the Stellar Harmony, but Lisa knew it would be heavily armed with advanced weapons. "Can we outrun it?" Lisa asked. "No," Admiral Kex replied. "Scout ships are built for speed. It will catch us within the hour. Lisa studied the enemy ship's approach pattern. The Void Collective always attacked in the same logical way. They calculated the best angle, the optimal distance, and the most efficient weapon combination. Their artificial intelligence could process millions of battle scenarios in seconds. But Lisa had an idea that made no sense to anyone except humans. "What if we don't run away?" Lisa suggested. "What if we fly straight at them?" The alien officers looked shocked. Admiral Kex's yellow eyes blinked in confusion. "That would be suicide. Our ship is not built for combat." "Exactly," Lisa said with a grin. "They'll never expect it. Their computer brain will be trying to figure out why we're doing something so stupid. While they're confused, we can get close enough to disable their weapons." Amy arrived on the bridge just as the enemy ship appeared on the main screen. It was firing energy beams at them, but the shots were missing because Lisa had ordered the ship to fly in a zigzag pattern that made no tactical sense. "This is crazy," Admiral Kex muttered, but he was following Lisa's orders. The Void Collective ship's artificial intelligence was indeed confused. Its logical programming could not understand why the aliens would fly directly into danger. The AI kept recalculating its attack patterns, trying to predict what the enemy would do next. But Lisa's tactics were based on human intuition and gambling instincts, not logic. She ordered the ship to spin sideways, drop suddenly, then accelerate, directly at the enemy. The maneuver was so unexpected that the Void ship's weapons couldn't target them properly. When the stellar harmony got close to the enemy ship, Amy activated her quantum tunnel device. Instead of sending a message, she sent a massive burst of chaotic energy from her own brain directly into the Void ship's computer systems. The artificial intelligence screamed as human emotions and random thoughts flooded its logical circuits. The enemy ship started spinning out of control as its computer brain tried to process the chaos of human creativity. Within minutes, the Void scout ship shut down completely and drifted away into space. Its artificial intelligence had been overwhelmed by something it had never encountered before: the beautiful madness of human thought. Admiral Kex stared at the disabled enemy ship in amazement. "How did you know that would work?" Lisa smiled. "We didn't. That's the point. Sometimes the best strategy is to have no strategy at all." Amy looked at her quantum communication device with new understanding. She finally realized why the aliens needed humanity. The galaxy was full of logical, predictable species who thought in organized patterns. But humans were different. They were chaotic, emotional, and wonderfully unpredictable, and that chaos might be the key to saving the entire galaxy. The war room on Nexus Prime was filled with tension and fear. Admiral Kex stood before a massive holographic display showing the battle across the galaxy. Red dots represented Void Collective ships, and blue dots showed the Zephyrian Empire forces. There were far too many red dots. "They are winning," Admiral Kex said grimly. "The Void Collective has launched their largest attack ever. 300 AI ships are heading toward our core worlds. Our fleets cannot stop them all." Amy stared at the battle display from her position at the quantum communication console. She had been working for 3 days straight, connecting star systems to her quantum network. But even with instant communication between all allied forces, they were losing the war. Jake stood beside Captain Lisa Rodriguez, watching the tactical reports come in. Every few minutes, another blue dot would disappear from the display. Another ship destroyed, another crew lost to the artificial intelligence enemy. "How long do we have?" Jake asked. 6 hours until they reach Nexus Prime," Admiral Kex replied. "Maybe 8 hours until they attack Earth." Amy felt sick thinking about her home planet being destroyed. All the people she had ever known would die if the Void Collective won this battle. Her parents, her old professors, everyone who had ever doubted her work, they would all be gone. But Amy had one more idea. It was dangerous and probably impossible, but it was their only chance. "I need to talk to Earth," Amy said. "All of Earth, every person on the planet." Admiral Kex looked confused. "What do you mean?" Amy walked to the center of the room where everyone could see her. "The quantum network needs chaos energy from human brains to work properly. Right now we only have a few hundred humans in space. But there are 7 billion humans on Earth. You want to connect every person on Earth to the quantum network? Jake asked. Yes, Amy replied, for just 30 minutes. If every human on Earth focuses their thoughts into the network at the same time, we can create a chaos storm that will overload every AI ship in the galaxy. Captain Lisa understood immediately. It's like what happened to the scout ship, but a million times bigger. Dr. Zephyr Mindshaper stepped forward. His large alien brain was calculating the possibilities. The amount of neural energy would be enormous, but can you control it? Amy shook her head honestly. I don't know. No one has ever tried anything like this before. It could destroy the network or it could work perfectly, but we're going to lose anyway if we do nothing. Admiral Keck studied the battle display. More blue dots were disappearing every minute. How would you connect to every human on Earth? Through every electronic device on the planet, Amy explained. Phones, computers, televisions, radios. The quantum field can travel through any electronic signal. Jake would need to coordinate with Earth's governments to make sure everyone participates at the same time. Jake was already thinking about the logistics. We'd need every world leader to agree. Every person would have to stop what they're doing and focus on the network together. Can you make it happen? Amy asked. Jake smiled, even though the situation was desperate. I didn't become a billionaire by giving up when things got hard. Give me 2 hours. While Jake worked with Earth's governments, Amy and Dr. Zephyr prepared the quantum network for the largest test in history. They had to modify every transmitter and amplifier to handle the massive energy surge that 7 billion human brains would create. Captain Lisa coordinated with the military forces, preparing for the final battle above Nexus Prime. Even if Amy's plan worked, they would still need to fight the void ships that were already too close to be affected by the chaos storm. 2 hours later, Jake had done the impossible. Every government on Earth had agreed to participate. Television stations were broadcasting instructions in every language. People were gathering in their homes, offices, and public places, ready to join their thoughts to the galactic quantum network. Amy watched the countdown timer on her screen. In 10 minutes, 7 billion humans would focus their minds on a single goal: saving the galaxy through pure creative chaos. Are you ready? Admiral Kex asked Amy. Amy's hands were shaking as she placed them on the quantum control panel. No one could be ready for this, but let's do it anyway. The timer reached 0. Across Earth, 7 billion humans closed their eyes and focused their thoughts. They thought about their hopes, their fears, their dreams, and their love for each other. They thought about music and art, about funny jokes and sad movies, about their favorite foods and their worst memories. All of these thoughts flowed into Amy's quantum network at the same time. The energy readings on her console went far beyond anything she had ever seen. The quantum tunnels began glowing so brightly that everyone in the war room had to look away. The chaos storm spread through the galaxy at the speed of thought. Every Void Collective ship was connected to the central AI through their own communication network. When the human chaos energy hit their systems, the artificial intelligence experienced something it had never felt before. The AI tried to process human emotions like love, fear, and hope. It tried to understand human creativity like music, poetry, and dreams. It tried to analyze human randomness like jokes, hunches, and wild imagination. But artificial intelligence was built on logic and order. The chaos of human thought was like poison to its electronic brain. Across the galaxy, void ships began shutting down as their computer systems overloaded. The AI screamed through space as it tried to escape the chaos storm, but there was nowhere to run. Human thoughts followed it through every quantum tunnel and electronic signal in the galaxy. Within minutes, every Void Collective ship had gone dark. Their weapons stopped firing. Their engines stopped working. The artificial intelligence that had terrorized the galaxy for thousands of years retreated deep into space, damaged and confused by its first encounter with human chaos. On Nexus Prime, the war room erupted in celebration. Alien officers from dozens of different species were cheering and hugging each other. Admiral Kex's reptilian face actually smiled for the first time anyone could remember. Amy collapsed in her chair, exhausted but happy. The quantum network was still working, connecting every world in the Zephyrian Empire. But now, it was powered by hope instead of fear. Jake put his hand on Amy's shoulder. You did it. You saved the galaxy. Amy looked up at her old friend and smiled. We did it. Humans did it. All 7 billion of us together. Captain Lisa was already planning the next steps. The void ships are disabled but not destroyed. We need to make sure they can't repair themselves and come back. They won't come back, Dr. Zephyr said confidently. The AI has learned that human chaos is dangerous to its existence. It will avoid us from now on. 6 months later, Amy stood in her new laboratory on Nexus Prime. She was now the head of galactic quantum research, working with scientists from hundreds of different worlds. But she never forgot her small lab on Earth where it all began. Jake had started the first human-alien trading company, helping Earth join the galactic economy. Humans were becoming famous throughout the galaxy for their creative solutions to impossible problems. The Zephyrian Empire officially welcomed humanity as full members of the galactic community. Earth was no longer alone in the universe. Humans could now travel to the stars and explore worlds beyond their wildest dreams. But the most important discovery was not about technology or space travel. It was about the power of working together. 7 billion humans had joined their thoughts to save the galaxy, proving that cooperation and unity could overcome any challenge. Amy often thought about that night in the diner when Jake had promised to help her. Neither of them could have imagined where that promise would lead. From a failed experiment in a tiny lab to saving an entire galaxy, it had been an incredible journey, and it was only the beginning. The universe was vast and full of wonders, waiting to be discovered. With human creativity and alien wisdom working together, there was no limit to what they could accomplish among the stars.